Chris here, and welcome to my channel. For today's 5 on Friday, I'm going to bring to you my book haul revisited vlog. So if you haven't seen it, I'll link it in the cards above, but on a previous 5 on Friday, I went through my book haul for January, February, and March of 2021 and narrowed it down to 6 books, and then took the 5 that seemed to be the most popular from your comments and suggestions and decided that I was going to read them for this reading vlog. So the 5 books I'm going to be reading in this vlog are The Game Masters of Garden Place, Worth 1,000 Words, The Simple Art of Flying, This Time Next Year, and The Revolution of Mariana M. And I'm here because I have an update, because I'm finished with 2 of them. So the first is The Revolution of Mariana M, and I DNF'd this. I am allowing myself DNFs this time. So this is a historical fiction that is going to be following our main character, Marina, and it is set in St. Petersburg in 1916. And we're going to see, I believe, how she deals with World War I and the stuff, like the upheaval that causes. So I believe she's like 16, and she immediately mentions this guy that she's like really crushing on. And the reason I DNF this, and this might be a slight spoiler, but it literally happens within the first 100 pages of this 800-page Breck, is she ends up sleeping with him, and it is spicy. And y'all know, I do not like spicy. And I went into a historical fiction not expecting spicy. And now, with spicy scenes, there's language that you can use to describe a spicy scene, and then there is language that you can use to describe a spicy scene. And the language that this author chose is just... it made me very, very uncomfortable. And so I was like, okay, I don't know that I like this. And I'm going to mention one of the words that she used to describe certain anatomy. So it may be spoiler, but not really. She referred our main character to her lover's equipment as flagpole. And I don't know if I've ever heard that particular phrase used to describe that. And I did not like it. The whole scene made me very, very uncomfortable. And so I went on Goodreads, and I think I heard somebody said that this would be like if Twilight was set in Russia. And I went, okay. Because I was like, does it get better? Is this like a one-time thing and then we move on? But it sounds like this spicy stuff is going to continue to pop up throughout the book. And I went, okay, this is not a book for me. I'm 100 pages in, and I don't like our main character. I don't like the choices she's making. And spice. So I decided this was just a book that is not for me, and I was going to DNF it because I think that should be allowed. I know in my 5-star predictions and in my seasonal covers, I stuck with the books, even if they were one, if I had picked them up separately, I might have DNF'd. So in this series, the idea is that I just haven't gotten to these yet, so I didn't want to force myself to read something I wasn't enjoying. So I DNF'd this. I made the decision that I wasn't going to stick with it, so my first book is a DNF. Which brings me on to The Game Masters of Garden Place, which I picked up for the Whodunit Readathon. Got like 90 pages in and DNF'd it. We're off to a brilliant start. So this is following a group of 6th graders, Ralph, Jojo, Noel, Persephone, and Cammy. And they're really into this tabletop role-playing game. And the premise is that somehow the characters from their tabletop role-playing game are going to come to life and end up in our world, and they're going to have to deal with the chaos that that's going to cause. And I thought that sounded really, really interesting. However, we're 90 pages in, and we haven't gotten to that yet. So what it does is it goes back to Ralph, our main character, our main POV's birthday party, where they played their first ever game of this storyline. And we see how they got into the game, how they created the characters, some of the adventures these characters have been on, and I don't care. None of this has made me care about the characters in real life because of the way they're behaving in real life. And nothing that is happening in, I guess, their like campaigns is making me intrigued about their role-playing characters. So I'm just not into it all around. I'm like waiting for it to get to the point, and I'm just so incredibly bored that I was like, I'm not putting myself through reading another, like, how long is this book? Acknowledgements, 200 pages to get to the point, especially considering, like I said, I feel like we're spending the first 100 pages just like setting up the story and orienting you with all of the characters and explaining how a role-playing game works and what their characters are in there, which, like, I get, but did it need to take 100 pages to explain all of this? And, like, maybe it did, but it was boring to me. So I don't know, I was not into it and decided to preserve my sanity and DNF it because I was so bored, y'all. I was so bored. So far, we're not off to a great start. Feeling a little bit more hopeful about these. This feels very, very much up my alley, whereas the other two that I DNF'd were kind of not. This is like a hard-hitting middle grade contemporary. This has an animal POV, so I feel pretty confident this middle grade is going to click with me. This one could go either way. Either I'm really going to enjoy it, or I'm not, because that's usually how it goes with romances. But we'll see. I don't anticipate it being so bad that I DNF it, but I also didn't anticipate DNFing this. So we're going to see how this goes. I'm actually going to be reading this in the next couple of days, so you'll probably hear from me very soon about that. But yeah, that's my first update. So far, this book haul revisited has been a bit of a dud, considering I've had 2 DNFs. But on the right side, they're not on my TBR anymore, so thumbs up for that. Here's hoping that the other 3 books go a little bit better. So this video was a little bit of a fail. Yes, that is a Christmas tree. And this is the first time I've checked in on this vlog since May. And we're in December. Oops. This year has been completely overwhelming, and I just did not have the spoons, and when I did, this took a back seat. So I am going to tell you about the other books I read. Obviously, I mentioned I DNF'd these, and we'll see if I can actually remember the details to some of them. I do apologize that this is probably not going to be my best video, because it has been a very, very long time since I've read some of these. So I'm going to do my best to give you my thoughts as best as I can remember. So we'll start with Worth a Thousand Words by Bridget Young, and I ended up giving this 4 stars. I read this at the end of July, and this follows a young girl named Tilly who is in a car accident and has painful injuries that are left over. She's gotten really into taking photos and helping people find lost things via her photos. However, she is completely unprepared when class clown Jake shows up asking her for help to find his missing father. Through this, she starts to uncover secrets that maybe she shouldn't be looking into, and kind of has to figure out what she's going to do with the information she's uncovered. So what I remember about this is I really liked seeing the relationship develop between Tilly and Jake. I thought that was quite interesting throughout the novel. I thought it was interesting seeing Tilly struggle with the information she found and what she was going to do with it. I thought her relationship with her family was also interesting, because it definitely played a part in this story and how things kind of came about. Of the 3 books I have left to mention, this is the one I actually remembered most about without needing to have my memory refreshed. What I mainly remember is that I thought it was a good middle grade contemporary that had disability rep with Tilly, had a bit of a mystery to it, but also felt really possible for a kid to get involved in and realize that maybe she made some wrong decisions given what she's looking into and what she ends up discovering. I think this is definitely a middle grade contemporary that is good for middle graders, that if it sounds interesting, I would recommend. I just don't remember all of the finer details at this point, but like I said, I do remember the main idea and some of the plot points. Then I'm going to mention I read This Time Next Year, and I read this at the end of May, and I gave this 2.75 stars. And I'm going to be honest, I thought I had DNF'd this, because I don't remember anything about this book except the premise, which is that we're following 2 characters, Quinn and Minnie. And they were both born on New Year's Eve. No, they were both born just after midnight on New Year's Day. But Quinn was given the prize for being the first baby born in London, and the name that Minnie was supposed to have, and she's had bad luck on her birthday ever since. and they end up running into each other, and she sees that she's right because it looks like Quinn has a really good life and she hasn't had the best one, and yet they keep running into each other. I honestly thought I had DNF'd this, which means I did not like the romance. I vaguely remember scenes with their moms and learning more about the day they were born and how the events kind of came down about that. But I cannot tell you where they ended up, how their relationship started, if they got together, any of that. Like, it just obviously did not stick with me. It did not make an impression on me because, again, I looked at this book and was certain when I was looking it up that I was going to have DNF'd it. So I don't really have anything more to say because, well, I don't remember anything. It's just very obvious between my 2.75 rating and the fact that none of the details have stuck with me that this was not a book for me, and I did not have a good time with it. And then the final book that was on this list was The Simple Art of Flying, and I gave this 4 stars. So I'm going to mention that I read this in the endish part of May, but before this time next year. And I'm going to link in the cards above vlog 145 because for whatever reason, I actually talk about this book and my thoughts on it in vlog 145. And I'm going to do a better job there than I will here, but I will give you some details. So this follows Alistair. And he is our main POV, though we do see 2 other POVs. And Alistair is living in a pet store, I believe, and wants nothing more than to escape the pet store and go back to living in the wild with his sister Aggie. But then they both get purchased by different people. And we see the POVs of the people who purchased Alistair and his sister. And this story is about Alistair trying to find a way to get back to his sister and keep her safe. Once my memory was jogged on this one, I definitely remember the story a bit more. Like, reading the description, a lot of the details came back. And then, of course, I watched myself talk about it back in May. So again, highly recommend you check that vlog out because you're getting my real-time thoughts on it as I read it. I should have posted that or saved that clip for this vlog. I didn't. Probably because at the time I had forgotten that it was even a book called Revisited book. Sorry if you can hear the car in the background. Somebody just started their car to warm it up, I think. So apologies if that is a little bit distracting, but I remember really enjoying the bond between Alistair and Aggie and how much he loves her and how much he cared for her. I think that the additions of their new owners and their POVs are very important to the story. And I remember having a good time with this, and I can tell watching that clip that I did enjoy my read of this. I don't think it's one I would reread, but I definitely think it's one I plan to pass on to one of the little ones because I think this is a very interesting middle grade and that it is definitely worth passing on so somebody else can enjoy. And that was my book haul revisited. Again, apologies it's taken me this long to update you on it. I'm hoping to be a little bit more on top of things in 2025. But like I said, 2024 was crazy. And I decided that in case you actually watched my book haul revisited and wanted to know what I ended up thinking of these books, I should at least try to give you an update. All in all, this was not a good book haul revisited. I DNF'd 2 books, gave one 2.75, and I had 2 4 stars, which were somewhat memorable, but not, stick in my head, think about them, easily be able to tell you what I read at 200 books later. So hopefully that will help you make a decision if you're interested in any of these. And once again, apologies for not getting this out sooner and kind of being behind on it. But that's it for this book haul revisited vlog. Not the best, but I did get 5 books off of my TBR, which is always a positive. All of my social media is linked in the description below if you'd like to come chat with me. If you've made it this far in the video, leave me bird emojis in honor of Alistair and Aggie. Parrots if you can. I don't know if there is one, but birds in general or parrots if you can. Like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I will talk to you next time. Bye!